As she said, my name is John Erbey. I bring to this venture training in epidemiology, a 15-year career in large cap, med device, and pharma, essentially translating science into business. And then May will mark our 10th anniversary for Roivios. So what is Roivios? Over the next couple of minutes, I'd like to impress upon you the opportunity that we have in front of us. One, the problem is massive. We're focusing on CKD patients. They over-index to the hospital, they over-index to the surgery, they have very bad outcomes. So there are 26 million Americans, they generate 14 million admissions every year, and that costs about $250 billion in the US alone. Our solution is a simple, elegant approach. We thought differently about the kidney. I'll get to you in a minute about how we did that. And then in terms of traction, we received our FDA breakthrough in April, and we have over 100 issued patents. I think we're close to 120 across 29 markets, 7 families. We've done what it takes, done what it matters to protect the business. And then in terms of an investment, this is a significant opportunity. We think the ICU business and the hospital business has a $105 billion TAM. We have high margins and a very effective tax rate because of our corporate structure. We're seeking $20 million to complete the pivotal and file the product. So let's talk about renal impairment. Again, we're focused on those individuals who are in the hospital, largely in the ICU, and we're going to penetrate that opportunity with cardiac surgery, leverage the advantage of the cardiothoracic surgeon and their fear of AKI impacting their quality scores to get in the building, and then let the intensivist help us spread it throughout the institution with the collection of high-quality data. Those inpatient admissions cost $250 billion, but more importantly, they generate 76,000 crashes into dialysis every year. And for a commercial patient to crash into dialysis puts their insurer on the hook for about $650,000 in the first 30 months during that coordination of care with Medicare. Our solution is a little non-conventional. So we're applying a negative pressure into the collecting system of the kidney. Pascal's law, that force distributes through each of the million nephrons to the backside of the filter. You've just recreated filtration, which is what the kidney requires. That's the engine that drives things. And now the kidney can focus on selectively reabsorbing everything that it wants to keep and getting rid of everything that it doesn't want to keep. The kidney is not a filter. The kidney spends a tremendous amount of energy doing something called selective reabsorption, keeping glucose, keeping sodium, keeping water against the forces of diffusion. So this is how that mechanism plays out. Conventional wisdom is focused on moving the circulatory system. So you're either pushing more blood into the kidney or pulling more blood out of the kidney. We don't think that's going to solve the problem because the tubule is really the focus here. So decreasing the pressure in the Bowman space and in the tubule below it allows the kidney to drive that force. The value proposition is compelling. At the end of the day, we're going to improve the recovery of these patients. That allows them to get out of the ICU faster, good for hospitals, keeps them from crashing into complications, good for the patient. And the providers actually can focus on fixing the kidney as opposed to just trying to outsmart it. The business is simple, it's razor and blade. We'll sell disposable units, and that's the focus where we put the value. The external hardware is low cost, and at the end of the day, we will drive individuals towards high volume on the disposables. We think we have 95% margins on those at scale, and ultimately that's what drives this. So we believe we're a class 2. We're pursuing a de novo with the US, a class 2B in Europe. There is existing CPT coding and coverage for placement of these. We're working to optimize that for the urologist because it's in an OR setting as opposed to another setting. And then payment for this will come out of the DRG. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But at the end of the day, these patients are a loss for the institution because they're sitting in the ICU in a very high cost standard of care. It's usually 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 nursing for a very long time, and they're not actually treating the fundamental problem. This gives them a tool to do that. I mentioned our penetration strategy earlier. So we're going after getting in the building with cardiothoracic surgery. There are 69,000 cardiac surgeries either cabbage, valve, or combination that are done for patients with renal impairment. Those individuals have very high complication rates, so 50-50 chance of getting AKI, which extends the ICU stay, doubles the ICU stay. They also have high single-digit mortality and high single-digit crash into dialysis. And we've already covered the economic implication there. That single trial will get us into the cardiovascular ICU. We'll do a second trial in major surgery, most likely abdominal wall reconstruction. Use that as an umbrella to get the major surgery labeling. And then we'll move from the surgical ICU into the medical ICU and go after very attractive markets of sepsis and acute heart failure. From a competitive standpoint, as I mentioned, we're thinking about the world very differently than everyone else. The vast majority of conventional wisdom and the marketplace is focused on trying to move blood within that closed loop of the circulatory system. Either you're pushing it in, pulling it out, or shifting it to the splanchnic bed or some other low pressure reservoir. What we're doing is enabling the kidney to be part of the solution directly. We've built an experienced leadership team and a strong class of advisors to help us move this needle forward. Obviously, we're going to be changing practice, and that's a heavy lift, so we wanted to make sure we had the best team in place. A couple of highlights here. Brian Tucker is a renal physiologist out of UCSD. He's got a 20-year career post his academic career, and he's got a 15-0 record with FDA submissions. Jake Upperco has, at the ripe age of probably 30, has 120 patents to his name. Phenomenal engineer that's helped bringing us forward. And now we've recently added Alencia from a clinical execution standpoint to round out the team. The financial projections get crazy. If this is done right, and we capture the 18% share that is, deemed what is the ceiling for technologies without a guideline inclusion, we would rapidly achieve massive opportunities. Now, getting between here and what is, normally anticipated, these numbers look ridiculous. And we've had that conversation multiple times. But if you break this down, this is assuming a 3-year to peak on each individual institution, on each individual indication, based on the epidemiology that goes into those institutions. So this is best case scenario, but it is a signal of how big the opportunity can be. From a timeline perspective, we've received breakthrough, as I covered in last April. We got IDE approval for our pivotal trial in cardiac surgery in December, and we're looking to enroll our first patient in the next couple weeks. That leads us to an execution where in the next 12 to 18 months, we should be in a position to wrap up the trial, submit it, and be waiting for the FDA to make a decision on that de novo. We've just talked about Juxtaflow, our acute product. What we haven't talked about is the two other products, our percutaneous approach and our pacemaker for the kidney. Those are heavy lifts, they're PMAs likely. They will take a lot of resources. We're not gonna start those until we get revenue from the first program, but they get us into the community. And that is really where we think this technology will resonate and really have an impact on altering the natural history of CKD for millions across the world. Thank you.